It's time for Trench Talk. For your weekly infusion of metal and otherwise heavy music, I'm your host, Flight of Icarus from MetalTrenches.com. If you haven't already, please do subscribe to the channel, sign up for our mailing list, and follow us on social media. Today I've got an interview with Chicago progressive technical death metal band Warforged, who has had a long walk towards this first debut album. It's called Voice, coming out via the Artisan Era records. Hope you enjoy it. All right, so let's talk about kind of what inspires your sound. So bands, life, other media, what's all going into it?
May I?
Go for it, man.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of everything with music. At least for me, I kind of rode the wave in the early days of all the metalcore stuff that was going on in between 2005 to 2008, like Darkest Hour and Dead to Fall and all that good shit. When I was in high school, I kind of got introduced to all the more progressive stuff. I remember I was sitting in my buddy's basement, and in the same day he showed me like Opeth's The Lotus Eater and Foam Born A off of Colors and like a bunch of other shit in that realm. I think they introduced me to a bunch of Sumerian bands at the time then too, so it was just like fucking mind-blowing. And then later on, it started making the trend around like Essence days. Like after I got out of Endful Darkness, they started showing me all the more like dissonant black metal shit, Abigor and Abyssal and all that like scary shit, Gore Guts. So it kind of covers a wide spectrum in terms of music, but visuals and like film are also a huge influence of mine. Paul Thomas Anderson, he's great for Are you familiar? Do you watch any of his films?
Oh yeah, definitely, big fan.
It's a shit, man. There Will Be Blood, The Master, it's unbeatable. And Johnny Greenwood's work for the scores for both of those films are just like, it's a shit, man. I listen to both those records like regularly. It's so good.
It's funny too to hear all these bands talk about, for the longest time everybody sort of shit on metalcore, but I feel like we've moved up a generation to the point where we all kind of came up on that stuff. Like I was the same way. I very much kind of grew up on Darkest Hour and Poison the Well and all that kind of stuff. And now, like even the kind of the heaviest bands around right now, that was a big part of sort of their formulation.
Yeah, I definitely was like that when I was younger, because I came up with like a Metallica and Megadeth, and then I got in like Iced Earth and In Flames and Soilwork, and I heard Killswitch. I'm like, this is stupid. It's like metalcore crap, And now it's like that's a band that's pretty foundational to like who I am, So I was like 15, but I was trying to ride that like old school metal wave, and then you kind of grow up and it's like, yeah, these bands are cool. Like, why am I going to hate something that I like,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I feel like I went through the same thing pretty much. Yeah. Loving thrash and then hating on any kind of metalcore, hardcore, anything. But then you evolve, your tastes evolve, and yeah, it becomes okay. I was in a metalcore band for a short period too, so.
Yeah. I remember hearing a lot of that stuff back in the day and thinking like it was too like... it was too like gross and fucked up to listen to. Like the vocals and like Sound the Surrender was like too heavy for me.
Yeah, I remember feeling that too. Like because Metallica and Megadeth, those were like calmer vocals. I mean, they're still aggressive, but then you get to like In Flames. I'm like, dude, I don't like In Flames. The screaming sucks. It's scary. And then you're like, oh wait, this is actually like really sick. Like this is cool. But yeah, it's like it took me a while to like that, and it's weird to think that I didn't like that at one point.
Yeah, it's funny how you have to adjust to some of that stuff. Sometimes it takes a long time too. I remember my friend introduced me to like Mayhem and Darkthrone and stuff when I was maybe 16, and I was like, this sounds like like a whirring fan that's like malfunctioning. And it wasn't really until I don't know, maybe like 5 years ago that finally I like listened to it again and was like, oh, okay, I get it now. Like this makes sense to me.
Yeah. I was like that with like Dillinger Escape Plan for the first, like when I heard them in like freshman year of high school. Like, this is just noise, man. This sucks. If you like this music, you're an idiot. And then it's like, oh, wait, this is actually, like, really fucking amazing, you know? Yeah. But you just have to, like, grow up a bit before you can, like, I don't know, your brain develops where it can understand good music, you know.
Yeah, it's challenging.
Yeah.
What else? What other kind of, besides bands, you mentioned Paul Thomas Anderson, what other things kind of flow into sort of the concept and atmosphere of the music, would you say?
Horror, survival horror video games. I think that, like, I tend to lean more towards overall moods and, like, vibes and feelings rather than, like, specific like parts, if that makes sense. Like I'll hear like I'll get like a vibe in my head for a certain part. Like, let me think. What's the beginning of Voice? The title
that whole
track.
song is very much.
Yeah, it's all
like
it's
that,
like
yeah.
vibe driven.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like. Oh yeah, we're gonna do this like riff here and then put this drum beat behind it. It's like, no, you have the vibe first and then you put the instruments to the vibe.
Which is what I really liked when I like joined the band, because I think that song especially is very, it's not like, oh, this riff was cool, I want to write a song like this. It's like, oh, I want to like scare someone.
Yeah.
And not a lot of bands like write songs based on a feeling. It's always, it's just, I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's very like cinematic, I guess, like
For sure.
when you're trying to create a mood with the music, pretty much. I mean, we're doing that, I guess. We're putting a film to it. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
I lost my train of thought. But yeah, like vibes, that's pretty much what I seek out, and that could come from film, that could come from everyday experiences. That could come from cooking, even, food. A radish will be like, man, this is a fucking blast beat, man.
I think I feel like Malcolm, for me anyways, in terms of my response to the album, kind of hit the nail on the head in my interview with him, where he described it as, it just sounds like a dream. Like there's this very kind of floaty, mystical aspect to it.
I'm so sorry. Duh. Yeah, that's it. The concept is about a dream. So yeah, dreams. I don't know why the fuck I didn't even say that. It's dreams. Yeah. Dreams, man. I mean, yeah. That's the other thing. It's like, it's hard to. I was having this conversation with Jason on the drive here. It's like, there are just too many influences. Every time I have these conversations, I'll come back to them like an hour later or like days later or weeks later. I'll be like, fuck, I forgot to mention it's a dream. How did I forget to mention that? So I'll say now, everything I just said, plus there's probably a million other things that I've completely forgotten that I'll remember tomorrow morning and be really pissed about.
Speaking of dreams, are you a Twin Peaks fan at all? I feel like that keeps coming up in interviews too.
Oh yeah, yeah. Fuck yeah, man. That's my shit.
Yeah, Adrian is like personified Twin Peaks.
I don't know. I wish.
Yeah,
no, actually, I don't
show,
watch
but,
that. I don't wish that.
I couldn't get past the second season, but
Season 3 is so good though. Plus, just I got very strong David Lynch vibes listening to this album for some reason. That's just how it kind of. It helped that I just rewatched season 3 again recently, but there was a connection there for me.
That's the shit. And you're from up in the Pacific Northwest too, right?
Well, I'm originally from Chicago, but yeah, I'm out in Portland, Oregon now.
That's right. Oh man, that's a good place. Yeah, man. So you like live in that shit. That's awesome. David Lynch, Twin Peaks, Mulholland Drive, Eraserhead, all that shit. I'm just really started taking the dive into David Lynch stuff in the past couple years, and especially just all of his I bought 2 books of his. One of them is his biography. The other one is just a book where he talks about like ideas and film and creativity and that sort of thing. And his approach to ideas is, and I'm gonna do a terrible job of paraphrasing this, but I want to just say it because it's something that's helped me a lot with writing and creativity and shit. It's like the way he describes it is that ideas are already out there, like in the universe or whatever you want to call it, and it's a matter of when he says that they're like fish, and every once in a while a fish will you know, you know what I'm talking about. It'll come in your direction. You have to catch it. You got to catch it. You got to write it down because it'll attract more fish, and you just keep building on shit. And that's such a good way to approach, you know, like projects. Just to like let something come, and then you catch something and you just build on it forever. It's great. Yeah, David Lynch is a shit, man.
Yeah, he's a smart dude. Random throwaway question that popped into my head because you mentioned survival horror. Are you a Resident Evil fan or a Silent Hill fan?
I will admit, of Resident Evil, I've played. Do you remember which one was for Dreamcast? Was it Code Veronica?
Yeah,
that
I'm
one.
pretty sure.
I played that one. I was terrified of it growing up because I couldn't like get past the first like 5 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
Good, like,
It's like exactly what would happen to me.
Yeah, it's too hard.
Like Outlast, like the game's cool, but I can't play it. Like it's too scary.
It's hard and scary. So yeah, Code Veronica, Resident Evil 4, that was my shit. Resident Evil 5 was my shit. Silent Hill, I played through 2 and I loved it.
That's the best one.
Yeah, it's great, and the soundtrack to that's another game where the music is just it's just so vibe and atmosphere driven. It just like the type of music. Here's another way that I describe the whole vibe thing that I was talking about. Like music that is not good to listen to at parties. That's the fucking music that I like, man. Music that you put on at a party or you put on in a car ride that was happy at a moment, and it just like ruins the mood. That's the best.
Yeah, you're good at doing that,
shit, man. I love it. I love ruining.
When we came back from the second tour we did over the summer, Adrian put on this one band. What was it called? Cluster. And it was just like it's
terrifying.
like, you know, getting late. You just want to get home, and it's like, dude, why are you listening to this shit?
It was
I just
like
wanted to throw him out the car, you know.
And it was like Adrian behind the wheel is kind of scary on its own.
I'm really bad at driving
and
in vans.
And this was like last stretch home. He's putting this shit on. We're all just like on the edge of our seats, like,
yeah, please don't crash and kill us. And this
good,
music
man.
is perfect if we die right now.
yeah, that's true. It would have been perfect.
Yeah, that's what you got to do.
Really set the mood.
Yeah.
So you talked about kind of going for a mood, and it made me think more about like your songwriting process. So where does that start, and kind of how does that progress along?
It changes from song to song. Like I mean, I could probably go through the album and go to like each specific part and tell you like where I was when writing it. But it can range from like. I'll have like a rhythm in my head, like the rhythm from We've Been Here Before, the I remember I was like doing that. I was, you know, you walk up to the fridge and you open it and then you like just stare and
Yeah, dude, that's a good fridge stare riff, dude. Hell yeah.
Yeah. I was staring in the fridge and I was like tapping on the fridge and I was like, damn, I gotta fucking put some chords behind that shit. Like, ran to a keyboard and put that together. So that's like that. So it's either like a riff in my head that I'll either try to bring to fruition through putting my hands on some keys or getting on Guitar Pro and just like fleshing shit out. But yeah, it's usually like I'll have a riff or a groove in my head that I'll just try to elaborate on in many different ways. And on that note, you're talking about just like, you know, the whole album as a whole and like songwriting and stuff. One thing, and the album from front to back flows as like one long piece of music. And one thing that I tried hard to do, because I don't know, you hear it a lot on Colors and other albums that they do a similar like one song thing, is, you know, bring back motifs and ideas, and it kind of helps the listener connect the pieces and connect the dots, which is really exciting. But sometimes you get like a riff, and this happened a lot in the early days of writing for this band, that you're like, oh shit, that's like a really cool riff, like or a really cool chord, and you have like a million ideas for it, and then you spend like months trying to like make them all fit into one song, and that's just like the worst. So one thing that we try to do throughout this record is like, you know, stick something, whatever fits there, fits, and then there, once you figure that out, you have like 20 other versions of that same riff that you can, bring back at when appropriate throughout the album. And you'll kind of hear that, chords or like little melodies change up, time signatures or keys or tempos or instruments entirely throughout the album.
It's just crazy to me because these songs are so dynamic and they're all over the place. There's so much going on and it flows really seamlessly. So I was just kind of like, is this something that just the whole picture kind of comes into view right away and then you try to build that up? Or is it more, I mean, it sounds like you're saying it's more sort of you let it evolve over time.
I think there was a vibe for like, not like checkpoints, but they were like, if it were
like a rough draft, like an outline of what you
Yeah.
want it to be, kind of.
like if this were like a constellation, each song is its own star, and then it's just
So cheesy.
it's a matter of filling in the dots.
Yeah, connect the dots, the
Yeah.
album, dude.
That's the quote.
Yeah,
That's
but-
quote worthy.
But like I remember specifically like back in 2015, 20 maybe it was like 2014, 2015 when things started to pick up with writing and I started to get a better idea of the whole picture. It was like we had these flag posts. We've Been Here Before, which is like the big like adventure song. It's the let's put all of our colors out on the table and show people what's possible. And then there's like song 2. Song 2 has to be the heavy song. It's got to keep people interested. And then like song 3 or 4, that's like a single, ended up being 4. And then 5 is like the like mood shift in the album. That's like shit gets serious around song 5. And then I'm kind of basing this off of album structures that I really like Darkest Hours, Undoing Ruin. That's really great.
There's definitely like certain album structures
Colors.
that exist that like work.
Yeah,
And like I
exactly.
think this album's definitely modeled off that kind of like do it this way because that's what keeps you interested as you go along.
Yeah.
That's interesting because that plays in your favor, and I think that's something a lot of technical bands really struggle with, and more kind of experimental, more noisy bands is they don't know how to balance that kind of more avant-garde weirdness with the more sort of mainstream appeal, those basic building blocks that keep somebody engaged with an album. And I think this one really treads that line kind of perfectly because it's weird, it's intense, it's off-putting kind of, as you said, but at the same time, like, I can't stop listening to it.
That's awesome. Thank you, man. Glad you feel that way.
Yeah, thinking about it, it kind of like mirrors And Justice for All in a lot of ways with the way the songs work. I think to a degree.
Are you talking about like album structure?
Yeah, in
I've
terms
never-
of like
I don't think
because it's a
I've-
9-track album, and I think at least like
listened.
the last 2 tracks I think kind of mirror how Justice for All is. I don't think that was the intent, but I'm just thinking of it now, and it's like it kind of. And I always think of Metallica as a good way where they structure their albums very well, and I think this actually it's all coming to me now. Like Voice has a lot of that element in it, whether it's intentional or not. I think it kind of was obviously, but it's cool how it like. Yeah, it flows, and it's like, this song stands out in this way, and this one in that way, but it's all one big piece.
Yeah,
and I think that's
yeah.
super, super cool.
Yeah. The show.
What are your favorite moments on the album?
Oh, we should go in a circle for this. You start.
Yeah, me.
I've been rambling. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I got to think about that.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I think the middle section of Cellar is really cool. I think that's a really, really sick part. I think like all the heavy stuff in Beneath the Forest Floor. Like I love playing that live because it's just really, really heavy.
Stupid
it's just,
heavy.
Yeah, stupid fucking pound your chest heavy, And I like a lot of Eat Them While They Sleep. I think that's just like I like the whole groove of that at the beginning with the drums and just the 16th notes on the guitar. And I think like all of Willow. Willow's probably my favorite song on the record. And I just love that the heavy chunky riff towards the beginning that comes in twice. That's really sick because that's just junk gunk gunk gunk. and it's so simple and stupidly easy, and it's just like fucking so powerful compared to like other shit in the album that's really technical.
You gotta pick one though.
One?
Yeah, just pick one.
Oh, pick one.
Yeah, what's the best?
Favorite
Honestly, it's probably that part in Willow, like when it's just that junk.
That's
Yeah, it's so simple, but like it's just like a goofy. It's not a traditional chord that you would. It's a little weird, and I don't know. It's just like playing that live, and just like the way it transitions in and out of it. It's just like this calm little like gunk. I think that's just like super.
Yeah,
sick.
that is a cool part where like on its own that riff is nothing really. I mean, it's
exactly.
It's the most basic kind of riff, but in the context of everything else, like it just works so well.
Context, constellations.
The constellation.
Like if I was a dude seeing the band live and I heard that riff in Willow, I'd just be like, "Fuck yeah!"
Yeah,
you know, just simple heavy that I would like that. So,
okay, Jace, you go now.
Okay. So it was one moment, right?
Yeah,
we only get to pick
I mean,
one.
You could say like 20 and then you could pick one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, the first thing I thought of was like the interlude in Cellar. That's probably my favorite part of the album. Because I really love the classical guitar part, and then how everything kind of like the layers start building in. But similarly, like Willow, also the interlude in Willow is a very similar build up and with the clean guitars, and then everything kind of comes in. You get the bass, you get the other guitar melody, you get the keys, and then it all kind of comes in. And that the interludes in those songs work so well. So it'd probably be one of those for sure, if not both. I mean, I can't choose.
Yeah.
It's like having to pick your favorite kid, you know? It's like, I
Yeah.
love all my kids, man.
No, man.
They're
Just
all
pick
great
one.
kids.
Just fucking pick one. One's shittier than the other one.
No, we all.
I didn't even write the album, and I can't pick a favorite part, honestly. So I don't envy you this question.
Oh. I think for me, can I give the one that I like the most and then the one that I'm the most proud of? Can I do that?
No.
Denied.
The one that I like the riff, the moment, the section, the notes that I like the most. Fuck, I don't know. Probably voice. I don't know.
Can't pick the whole song. It's a cop out, man. I like the whole album. That's my favorite part.
I like the end of Color, just because like I remember the day that I like copied and pasted that section onto the end of the song, and I put it there, and I sat back and I was like, oh, that's the end. That was like the moment where I was just like, oh, okay, it's done now. I'm cracking up right now. Just
which part specifically are you talking about? Okay.
That part, like
before everything cuts out.
Yeah. That part makes me sad, and I think about like the moment that I copied and pasted that in, and like thinking about the past, because that was in December of 2016 that was finished, and just like everything that it took to get to that moment, and like all the not to be a fucking wiener or anything about it, but all the hardship, the sweat, fair, the man. Blood and tears that went into it. It was just a really satisfying moment. So that like if there's any part on the album that I like, every time I listen to it, I'm just like, oh, fuck. It's probably that moment, just because of all the history behind it. Yeah.
That's a good one. And I say all the time, I'd rather have quality over quantity. So even though, this was a long time in the making, it was definitely worth it.
Well, I'm glad that you think so. I hope that other, the few people that followed us since Essence feel the same. When it comes out,
I'll be pretty pissed off if they don't. So I'll be.
Yeah.
Can you beat them up for us if they're not?
Beat them up, man. Yeah.
Dude, redefine the term street team.
Thank you.
How'd you end up on the Artisan Era?
So, what year are we? We're in 2019. Since we start, I forget. When we started pre-production, that was right after Max joined.
Yeah.
In
It was like August 2016.
Is that
we
when we
started pre-production. No,
I think it was more like
Did
the
we?
winter.
We started pre-production probably like October 2016.
damn man.
Damn.
I thought it
I
was
can
17.
find the files
Man,
and
that's
prove
crazy.
you guys wrong. But yeah, it was
Nuts.
like October.
Okay,
we took a long
you're,
time.
you're right. Yeah. Okay, so we started pre-production, and then we just started sending out demos to people, label folk and booking agent folk, and we were just kind of like talking with people for quite a few months, and it was honestly really stressful, just because it's like, I don't know, like we looping this back to the very beginning of the conversation. There's a ton of firsts for us as people and as a band with this album. One of those obviously being like the first record that we're putting out. This is the first record that we're putting out with a label, like through a label, and you could do all the research in the world, but at the end of the day, not to say that it's a gamble, but it's a little bit of a gamble, and it's a little stressful knowing that you and your buddies put so much time and effort into this thing, and you have to, after all that time of keeping it, within the group, you have to share it with other people who are gonna, hopefully, ideally, get it out to the world, get it who it needs to get to. But just like finding somebody that you can trust with that is stressful. And I don't know, man. We had been talking to a lot of people for a while, and I didn't really know Malcolm that much before we got on Artisan. I'd met him once, I think, when Inferi came to Penny Road Pub in whatever suburb that is outside of Chicago, and after we met, we just started talking, and I don't know, he's just like the shit, man, and he just like really hooked it up with Artisan, and it's just been really great ever since then. And to for the record, for people listening, today is April 25th. I was going to say 27th. I was definitely going to say.
What year is it again?
Yeah, I don't even know, man.
2000.
April 25th, 2019. And we've been working with, we signed the contract in September?
Yeah, I think
of
so.
last year.
Yeah.
And just ever, since then we've been just working with him on everything, be it the packaging and
scheduling for things.
Scheduling and
yeah.
him, their PR hooking us up with like you and other people, and it's been the shit.
Well, that was like right after we did that tour with Inferi too. It was a short, routing dates, because that happened after that, right?
Pretty
sure. Yeah. So that was really nice to actually meet Malcolm and the other Inferi dudes and hang out with them. And like, I mean, immediately, like when we started hanging out with them, I was just like, yeah, like we should probably just go with these guys because they're the fucking shit.
Yeah, him and Mike are just like killing it. Artisan Era, man.
Yeah, it's just cool because, obviously the music industry in its current form has been around for a while, where you can see bands that got burned in the 80s and 90s and shit. And it's really, you kind of know what not to do. And it's like, well, okay, what do I do then? And like working with Malcolm and Mike, it's like they're just good guys, and you just trust them. And I think that's super important.
Lots of
when
trust.
you have, your 9 children. Please help my children, and
it's like,
you want them to.
When it's time for them to go get jobs, finally,
Hey man, I got these babies.
I got 9 kids.
I need you to get them out. I need you to get them out to the world. Everybody's got to see them. Everybody's got to hear them, and get them out there.
I've heard nothing but good things about Malcolm. In fact, someone else was like, dude, you should just interview him because he's like a cool dude. And I'm glad I did, because he definitely is. And it sounds like it was just a good fit for exactly what you're talking about. Because, I mean, Malcolm talked in his interview about his own experiences kind of getting burned by a label early on, and kind of that having to sort of share things with people who maybe didn't have the same vision or the best interests in mind. And so he's like been around enough to see what that's like, and probably not want to leave other bands with that same experience because he knows how shitty it is.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's why it's so easy to trust him, and he's not going to fuck you over. I like that.
Yeah, that's a good endorsement too.
Yeah. You trust him, he's not going to fuck you over.
He won't fuck you over.
He won't fuck you either.
Unless you want him to.
Nah, they're awesome, and I think it was the best choice we could have made.
And y'all are gearing up for a tour. Anything you want to say about that?
Yeah, we're going out with An Atom in Existence. We're on the last leg of that tour. The first half is going to have Flub and...
I'm bringing it up. Yeah, because there's five different bands that are kind of just doing chunks of the tour, and then An Atom in Existence is obviously doing the whole thing. So
Clockwork tour.
Yeah, Flub, Eye of Horus, APOC, and Aetherius.
Aetherius, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it's gonna be.
So unfortunately, we won't be able to tour with any of the other bands. Like we won't see them, but except An Atom in Existence. But very excited for that though.
But if that tour is coming to your city,
please go.
Yeah, please go.
Please come.
That new An Atom is like the shit.
So, I got to ask you too, being in Chicago, the thing I miss the most, besides the pizza, that's an obvious one. But every time I visit Chicago, which isn't that often because I really just don't have enough time to travel, I have to go to Kuma's to get a burger. So I don't know if you fuck around with Kuma's, but...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that place is sick.
We make a trip there every now and then as a band.
When I was first getting into metal in grade school, did you by any chance know the band He Who Corrupts?
No.
You ever hear them? Okay, so they're like a Chicago like grindcore band. They have this song. I found out about them when I was in grade school. They have an album. I can't remember the name of it, but it has like 60 songs on it, and one of them, their big claim to fame is a song called "Master of Prophets." And when I was in like 7th grade, my buddy took me to Kuma's for the first time. You know, like it's winter, it's freezing. They have the fucking long ass lines and waiting like 2 hours. The windows are steamy, and like this was right before we went to a He Who Corrupts show, which, looking back now, was not good for like a 7th grader at all. Because for people who don't know He Who Corrupts, they like to like take off their clothes and stuff.
Shit on stage kind of shit?
Which is cool. It's really cool. But anyways, yeah, just going to Kuma's then, and like I think I got the Mastodon burger that particular time, and just fucking freezing, and then like walking from Kuma's to the Beat Kitchen, and my hands still smell like barbecue sauce and grease. I'm just like stuffed. I gotta take a dump. Yeah, man, it's good. It's good shit.
Yeah, the Kuma's grease.
I consider myself a burger connoisseur, and I eat burgers everywhere I go, but no burger is as good as a Kuma burger, in my opinion.
Damn.
Those are bold words.
Well, in terms of Chicago, though, what would you say is your favorite and least favorite thing about being there?
You should go first, because I feel like you have stronger opinions because you live.
Yeah, I live in the suburbs. I'm the only one in the band who I live like 40 minutes west of the city in Glen Ellen, but I'm actually moving in 2 weeks.
Okay. I grew up in Arlington Heights, actually.
Okay, yeah. So you're more a suburb guy than a city guy then, or at least, yeah. I don't like, as a homeowner, paying a lot in taxes. I hate that. I don't have kids, and I hate that. It's a very like, I'm gonna go vote, but it's I hate that. I think that sucks. But I like the area in that I know everyone here, and I like the complacency of that, I guess, which maybe isn't a good thing to say, but I do like the season change. I think that is cool, being grounded with the winter and the summer and dealing with that. And you come out of the winter and it's like right now is that time where you're like, I'm so excited, it's getting nice out again, and you get that boost and you get some shit done and you're just like motivated. Versus like if you're in, I feel like if I were in California, I'd be like, this is nice. Then like 5 years in, you're like, I don't have that change. I need something to kick my ass, and weather, I think, does that for me.
Yeah, I like the kick in the ass.
Yeah, but I mean, I think like most states that you want to live in have problems with being too expensive too, and I think Illinois has one of those. So I don't know. I think overall I like it here, but it's yeah, I think you'll find somewhere else you always want to live at more though. So
Yeah.
I mean, as far as big cities go, Chicago is actually like extremely affordable.
that's true.
Compared to like other, like New York or San Francisco, like that's not even comparable.
Yeah.
No, Chicago is awesome. Like right now, you can find places there for like pretty good price, and like it's got that big city feel. There's tons of stuff to do. The food is great. The people there are great for the most part. Just living in close proximity is so much stuff to do at the same time. I don't know. It's nice. I've lived in Chicago for like 10 years now, I think, in Logan Square right now. And it's just cool to be able to be like, oh, I want to go to the bar. Okay, I'll just walk there. I can just like walk anywhere pretty much. And yeah, I don't know. Everything's close by. What else could you want? The weather sucks, but who cares? Like, you deal with it.
No, I love Chicago. Every time I try to travel a lot, be it with the band or just like going out to different like states or different countries for whatever. And every time I get back to Chicago, I'm just like, man, this is the best.
Yeah, I get that same feeling, man.
I love Chicago.
It just feels like home.
Yeah, and I can't put an exact like any one thing, any one reason why. Maybe it's just because it's where I grew up and it feels like home, and I'm just like overly romantic about it. But I love Chicago and the people here, and the crazy people, and the CTA, and the fucking Wicker Park, and the record stores, and Kuma's.
Yeah, honestly, one thing too. I mean, whenever I go to another city, I always end up comparing it to Chicago. I mean, this is natural. You just do it. Honestly, the architecture here really.
Yeah,
I really like the architecture.
Yeah, big buildings.
I mean, yeah, that, and just like if you're in a neighborhood, like the 2 flats and the 3 flats and the graystones, like that's cool. You don't really see that in a lot of cities. I mean, New York for sure, but that kind of architecture, like with these like really like long, but like kind of I guess like not super wide houses that are just all like packed in, and it's just like dense, and like there's just so much shit, like so many people, and like in such a small area.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's interesting.
I want to make fun of you for that dirty architecture response, but I think that's really sick.
Yeah,
I agree with you.
Dude, I'm telling you, man.
Yeah, no, you're totally right.
Oh, you
can tell Chicago.
I'll walk down my street, and like there's so many houses that I'll like notice something new like every single time, and
that's
just be
cool.
like, damn, that house is sick. I've never noticed that before, and it's like 5 houses down from me.
That's very, very good of you to find joy in something that most people would like be turned off by.
Oh,
like.
Well, like because the houses are like smaller or whatever,
or just a lot of houses packed into one spot. Like I just think about that, like that compared to, I don't know, fucking, not to be pretentious or anything, but like Italy. I'm segueing because
you've never been.
You also asked the least favorite thing. My least favorite thing about Chicago is the like advertisements are just in your face like all the time, like bright, like there are these trucks that drive, and they drive past the restaurant that I work at, and we have like big windows in front, so any fucking cop car goes by and the whole restaurant is lit up red and blue, and there are these big trucks. The front of it looks like a semi, but the back of it is just like a giant screen on both sides. And I know that this isn't only in Chicago, but it's just like these super bright LEDs, and they're just like blowing your face up like that. And just, I mean, and those are on the CTA too. You ride the train and you get
just loaded with ads.
Just
big.
Big
If you drive
LEDs.
past Rosemont,
sometimes they're funny.
You get those bright LED lights ads too. I don't like the LED ones where they're like, I can't see now.
Yeah,
You've blinded
it's
me.
really bright,
Fuck you. Thanks for doing that.
But the overwhelming ads and adverse to what you were saying, I don't know,
you don't like the
clumpy
density.
I like it at times. It depends on my mood. Let's relate this.
I mean,
back
that's
to
the thing. Like, I think living in such a dense area, you appreciate being far away from it all a lot more when you get that chance to be out somewhere else in nature, just away from everything,
Yeah.
you appreciate it a lot more. But then, I don't know, I always want to go back. Like, I like the density.
It's kind of like the album, you know? There's certain parts that are just really clumped together, and it's really loud, and then it gets really quiet.
Dude, that's like my life. Wow.
So many
Yeah,
parallels.
man. Look at that. There's
I can
parallels
relate to
in
this
everything.
album
Yeah.
on a different level.
That's
now.
why.
Thank you, Adrian.
That's beautiful. That's
Yeah.
exactly the response I wanted.
Have you got any favorite local bands that you feel like deserve more attention?
I'm going to give a very biased response and say our drummer Jason's other band, Roman Ring, they're really fucking cool. That's Danny, the singer from Through the Eyes of the Dead, who was in Nightfall Came, sings for that band, along with Nate Madden, who plays for Immortal Bird and also does a solo on this album, as well as Franco, I don't know how to pronounce his last name,
Caballero.
and he
I don't know if that's
plays,
his real name.
I
What-
think it is. Yeah,
I assume it
Caballero.
is,
It just
Yeah.
sounds too
Yeah.
cool, I guess. And
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, they're the shit. Franco and Bill Fay.
Franco's
that's
other
a-
band, Wounds,
Yeah, they're
are
the shit.
awesome too. And I just found out about them. I think they're playing some show coming up soon that we might be on too.
Yeah, we're playing the first
Yeah,
That's-
with
is that the
Cases.
one
second day of our tour.
That's
Yeah,
the one at
yeah,
Cobra
yeah.
Lounge.
Chicago,
Right.
yeah,
Yes.
with them.
Awesome.
Yes.
That's gonna be a sick show.
Yeah.
Another band that I think is sick is Zayas. They're on
Mhm.
Prosthetic Records. They're like an instrumental band, and we saw them when we played a show like 2 years ago, and they were just about to get signed, and they were super sick. And I think that band's awesome, but they're more like a instrumental metal thing.
Yeah.
But they're sick. I think they're really cool, and they're also suburb guys, not city boys. So
Mhm.
I can relate to them on that level.
Yeah. Were you gonna say Cases too, or out?
Yeah,
Outrun?
they're sick too. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
Cases
didn't. I
is
wasn't
sick.
going to, but I should have because they're a great band
Yeah.
and they're cool dudes.
This is all coming back to me. That's another thing when people ask like about local bands. Fuck, dude, I forget shit. And people get
Yeah.
mad at me. Something is waiting. Outrun the Sunlight.
Yeah,
I have to remember so people don't get mad.
we forgot you. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
you know
sorry.
we love you.
I'm so sorry.
That's the human brain, man. I I have moments
Yeah.
where I'm interviewing a band and I realize I don't remember the name of the album.
Oh, that's tough, man.
And I'm like, oh yeah. If you go back and you listen to some of the other interviews too, if you think about that while you're listening, you'll pick up on it because I'll be like, oh, is that the most recent album? And when I say that, that's code for fuck. I forgot what the album is
oh
called.
man,
That's a good
that's
save,
a,
though.
that's a good. Yeah, it's a very good cover. May I just buy for like just a second?
Go for
Okay.
it. Whatever.
It's just,
Right.
we-
Yeah.
with the little bit of time that we've spent with this album, like the full album isn't out in the public yet. We've only put the singles out, and just with that little bit, seeing like negative things that people have to say on the internet. First of all, like I get it. People have opinions, and that's totally cool. And I'm not saying that anybody should not voice their opinion. I just can't imagine being the guy to write something like mean on the internet. It's just not something that I do ever. Like I don't.
Yeah, keep
And-
that to yourself.
Yeah,
You know?
and that's fine. Not saying that people shouldn't, but for me, because I'm not that guy, reading a negative comment or like there was one day I was up as well at like 6:30 in the morning, and it was one of the first reviews we got, and it was really just mean. We got a good score, but you wouldn't be able to tell that by the review. The review was just really mean, and it just like fucked up my day, man. So I do not envy
It is a
you
bummer. It
for
hurts.
that interaction. Yeah, it sucks.
You try to pretend
Sucks,
it
man.
doesn't, but it does. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, you want to be strong and be like, I don't care what they say. I do,
Dude,
I do what I want.
I do.
that's just like YouTube though. I mean, I know you're talking about the review, but
Yeah.
YouTube in general, like YouTube comments are fucking terrible.
Brutal.
Feel bad for anyone who's a YouTuber, man.
Yeah.
You just can't read. You just got to stop reading them.
Yeah, I agree with you though. Like, I mean, that's kind of like a big philosophy behind this site when I started it, was that I don't want to do the whole, like, I know it's in vogue and it's clickbaity and it gets the views if you like shit on stuff all the time and you're like super mean and edgy and everything. And I'm like, I don't want to fucking do that. Like, these are people that are like working really hard and I'm just one person. So who the fuck am I to do that? Like, I'll go along with the whole, like, I like shit talking and like memes where it's like not mean spirited, but like, you know, me and some of the people from the site have done stuff, you know, joking about how we didn't like the new Whitechapel and how like five finger death punch is lame, but I'll always back it up by saying like, hey, but if anyone else likes it, like, that's totally fine. Like, to me, I can't stand it, but to somebody else, it's probably their favorite band. In fact, I had an experience at a show where this like teenage kid, we were like talking about bands while we were in line, and he was like interested in the website and everything, and Five Finger Death Punch came up, and I was like, man, I can't stand those guys. And he like looked down, and it was just like out of a movie where I'd like broken this kid's heart, and I was like, hey, I was like, hey, dude, like, it's cool, man. Like, I liked a lot of bands like back in the day that I still like bands now that other people don't like, and like, that's your thing, and that's cool. So don't be put off because like I think it's shit. Don't let that sway your opinion.
Yeah,
but
it's a valuable
sometimes
lesson.
It's fun to just like talk some shit for fun and like meme on shit instead of you know, but I don't like that mean spirited like this is garbage and anyone who likes this is not elite and all that bullshit. Final thoughts, other things you want people to know about the album, about the tour, about the band, next directions?
Oh man. Yeah, just please take a second to check it out. I think the premiere or like the full album stream is going to be on May 7th. Pretty sure. I don't think that's like we haven't like posted about that yet. But I doubt it'll change. Album comes out May 10th. When you listen to it, please listen in the dark, smoke some weed, and don't do anything else.
Give it your undivided attention.
Just like fucking sit, and just like zone everything else out. Take an edible. I don't know.
One thing to add to that too, if you do get the vinyl, I would suggest listening to the album, either the digital or the CD version first.
Yes. Very good point.
Because that's the continuous one album, you know, there's no interruptions or anything.
Yeah.
With the vinyl, it's going to be a very different experience.
Yeah. Yeah. So listen. Okay. Eat a big fat edible. Turn off all the lights. Kick your family out. Kick your dog out. Kick your grandma out.
Granny, get out and listen to Woo Fooge.
Close the blinds. Turn off all the lights. Listen to it front to back. And sorry if you hate it, you know?
And after doing that, if you don't check all your closets and all the nooks and crannies in your basement, you didn't listen to it. So do it again.
Yeah.
Anyone who doesn't like this album is just objectively wrong. I'm sorry. But I agree with you, though. You need to experience it as a whole. Like, it's a hard album to just, like, pull a song out of. Like, you can definitely enjoy it. And I love the new music video, too. But
Thank you.
It just works so well as a full listening experience. And I agree with you about, like, make a evening of it. Light some candles.
Man, light some candles. Maybe, take your clothes off.
Yeah, right.
Shit.
Yeah, scatter some.
Enjoy it.
Maybe not rose petals. Maybe like fingernails.
Yeah, fingernails. Hell yeah.
Just imagine some dude in this like 10 by 10 room, nothing in it but a chair and like a CD player, and he's like naked, like
oh, you know what?
Lights off.
You can make a video about that.
Let me say this one thing. We were talking about me responding to that weird review. If there's anything that I can say, and if you think that this is in poor taste of me saying, feel free to cut it out or don't, and people could, listen to this and think what they think. But if you're going to listen to it, please don't listen to it expecting it to be a straightforward technical death metal record, because you will not get that vibe at maybe at some points, but at the end of the day, if you take the guitars alone, they're not technical death metal riffs. It's aggressive and it's fast and it's like intense at parts, but it's not a technical death metal record. That's my salty statement.
Yeah.
I mean, I would agree with that. Yeah, I mean, not to really elaborate too much on it, but yeah, I agree. I mean, there's tech death parts, but there's so many different types of styles that are all combined together. So if you call it tech death, you're missing the point. Yeah, basically.
It's like if you go into Popeyes expecting to get a Big Mac or something, you're just not gonna come out. You're not gonna come out getting what you want.
We got meat, but it's not Big Mac. We got tenders. We got legs and thighs.
We got French fries. We got chicken rings. We got wing things, and we got fingerlings.
I think that's sound advice, and I think that sort of goes along with what you were saying, very early on about it's really more about the mood than the instrumentation. And yeah, I mean, I could see how people might be confused by it, especially given like the other stuff that's coming out on the Artisan Era right now. Like, I feel like there's kind of a common thread that flows through Inferi, Inanimate Existence, Equipoise, but like you guys are on a completely different plane from that stuff. It's night and day.
Yeah.
All right. Well, on that note, we're going to have to do this again sometime because I feel like I have a million other questions, but I really do have to get going. Thank you so much for giving me all this time too. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I wish we could have had more, but it would be great. Yeah, we could sit down. We could have a nice long 8-hour chat.
Yeah, man. Do the Joe Rogan thing.
Yeah. Oh, dude. I honestly, I would fucking love that. That would be so fun. Yeah. Man.
Bring your 2 kids. We'll bring our 9 kids.
Yeah. Oh, we can all listen together.
We can play together
and be really unhappy. Yeah, that's another thing. Wait, can I just say one more thing? You're saying like people going in and listening to it, like it's not like. Again, looping back to the very beginning of this conversation, this is not a fun record to listen to. You're not gonna like.
Good promotion, man.
That's my statement. Yeah, you're gonna have a bad time listening to. At least, like, I kind of hope that you'll have a bad time listening to the record. So, like, again, don't expect like a fucking bouncy riffs and guitar sweeps galore.
There's a few of those.
Yeah, there's a couple guitar sweeps, but not galore.
There's some bouncing. There's some bouncy.
We gotta make you feel good sometimes so you feel worse later.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
it's context. Yeah. See, it all fucking connects. The constellations, the stars have aligned.
All right, y'all. Thank you so much. Stay in.
Thank you.
Thank you, man.
We'll do a follow-up one, and it'll be fun.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely.
Thank you. You hang up first. Okay.
Peace.
Bye-bye.
And that's it for this episode of Trench Talk. I really hope you enjoyed that. But in the meantime, again, once more, please do subscribe if you haven't already. Please do hit that like button if you enjoyed what you heard. If you're listening on other platforms, give us a review or a rating or a comment. I read every one of them. Follow us on social media. We're on all platforms. Check us out on Bandcamp. And of course, if you want to take that extra step, if you enjoy the content enough and continue coming back and feel like you're actually getting some added value, you're walking away with new information, new bands, new albums that you might not have otherwise known about, then consider hopping over to our Patreon and supporting us there. Links to all this down in the description. But now it's time for me to sign off. I will see you in the trenches.